One of the neatest things about streaming is I at least have some type of structure as to what the topics will be, but I never know what your stories are going to be unless you've been here for the previous series. And of the previous series, only Solange, Angie, and Lydia have been here for the previous. Everybody else is new. Oh yeah, JP. But Jesus, we thank you for the bread. We thank you that as you were on the earth this day, or in your day, you sought out to do your Father's will no matter what, no matter who else had a daily mission to carry out against you. You did your mission for the glory of God. And it is my desire that in every mission that I do here on earth, it is for the glory of God. I'm also very thankful for what you carried out. That even though our lives look like a big old mess, that you don't look at the big old mess. You, in fact, look at all the different ways that you can actively walk out the things of restoration. And I'm so incredibly thankful that I walk with a God of restoration and not a God of monitoring spirit, not a God of being critical. I'm thankful, Jesus, that you are always looking for restoration and not to be critical. Okay. The bit of being prone to accidents is not actually where we're starting. This is where we're actually starting. What makes this kind of interesting is that this particular window, or this particular one, and this particular one. So, false doctrines and false teachers is something I'm going to be referring back to multiple times, because you need to make the reference point that either you are in this mess of the principality of deaf and dumb because you've been listening to false teachers, or you're in the mess with the principality of deaf and dumb because you've been listening to false doctrines. So if you've been listening to false doctrines, false teachers, that is the principality of perversion. If you've been arguing against false doctrines because you disagree with them and not because they are false, then it's Antichrist. It is one mess or another. All right. We kind of talked about this yesterday, about this thing of calling out false teachers because we disagree with them, or false doctrines because I disagree with them. One moment while I adjust my music in the background because it can be a bit overpowering. There we go. All right. So, this is where most every person is when life does not make sense. They feel like Christianity just did not get them to where they were expecting it was going to get them. And so as a result, why am I even a Christian? So, before we get into the hard-hidden principality of deaf and dumb, I just want to hear from you. Before you knew that there was such a thing as bloodline repentance or anything like that, what was your perspective on Christianity, and why did it not work?
I always thought that it has to do with being patient, and also that it was God's will for certain things to happen and not happen. In the sense that if you didn't receive your healing, it had to do with God had His reason. I never took into account about the kingdom of darkness. That was not on my radar. So I always thought it was either God's will or not. Never gave a thought that it's not just His will, it's also ours. That we need to come into agreement, and then we also have this other faction, kingdom of darkness, working against us.
Anyone else?
I used to believe that God will take care of everything, and I didn't have to do any type of work.
Did it shock you when there was work?
Absolutely, and I think reading Natasha's book and seeing how we actually have to, like, it's a battle and we really have to war. I was just like, whoa, like I didn't know that we physically had to, you know, be doing all these things and fighting with the demonic like that. Growing up in church, they don't teach those things at all. You just pray and then just wait, and that's it.
Probably for me, I knew there was a war. I knew that there was prayers. I knew that all the ways that I prayed, nothing changed. And so the best that I knew how was you just keep trying until you eventually make it or you die trying. Then I had the heaven experience at age 17. I realized there's way more to it, but actually bringing that lesson to earth, couldn't figure it out. So when I had the second heaven experience at the age of 34 and realized that there was a way to overcome the devil because of records, that gave a little bit more purpose. Second heaven experience. I'm not talking about going to the second heaven.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because my first heaven experience, I didn't just go to earth. I went to the throne room. So the second time I went to heaven, I guess that would be a better way to say it, it was on behalf of somebody else that I really didn't want anything to do with. It was so crazy because I went into heaven hating the guy, came out of heaven loving him. That was weird. That was totally God. Anybody else? What was your perspective of Christianity before you realized it was something with bloodline repentance? Or what was your perspective with Christianity and it wasn't working?
I never knew there was a spiritual warfare that we had to fight because nobody ever talked about the devil. It was just your flesh. That was it. There was no need to for do any type of spiritual warfare because it was all your flesh.
Curiosity question on that, Nora. Um, did your life have any purpose before?
I was searching for more, but I didn't know how to get to the where I needed to get up until the Spirit of God came upon me one time when I was in a bad point in my life. And then I knew something was, things just started to happen. I would say things and something would happen and I would say, what is happening? Because I didn't know what was happening. But I knew it was the Holy Spirit that he was starting to show me, but I still didn't understand what is that you're showing me because I had no clue about the spiritual realm.
Mm. Did your life have any purpose before you realized what it, all the spiritual warfare and the repenting, Angie?
Repeat that question one more time.
Did your life have very much purpose, or did you struggle to find purpose in your life before repentance?
Yes. Oftentimes I used to ask God, like, I don't even know why I'm here. And I used to think, like, yeah, you made a mistake because, like, why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing?
Anybody else want to weigh in? Because I tell you what, when we get into the meat of today's stuff, whew,
Can you repeat what is
yes. What was your life before you figured out that there was more like repentance, etc.? And did your life have any purpose?
uh, mm, I know obviously I know more about the darkness side for where I come from, for all the things that I've, I knew there was a God, but also because the background where I come as a Catholic wasn't a big thing. So my life wasn't not good. And I will blame God and just say you don't love me until I come here. I know about the darkness and all that, but I just didn't know how to fight it.
Got it.
My life it was a mess, and I thought it was best for me to just to be buried, dead.
Hmm.
And I was tired about life, and I was always asking God, it probably would be best for me to not be here anymore. I will
Oof.
do a favor to everyone.
Oof.
I've said that so many times, and then I'll be sad, not happy about my life, depressed, which is before. I'll be crying the whole day without knowing why I was crying. There is no purpose. There is nothing that makes me happy, even though I have a husband, children in that time, a daughter and a son. But I was just depressed
Mm.
in that time, back in that time. And I think a few times have passed in my head to kill myself. I even told my
Oof.
husband about it after it. I told my husband, and he really get mad at me because he told me I could just tell him what I was going through.
Mm.
But I was feel like I was invisible for everyone in this world. I was going through my own stuff and no one realized. So yeah, I know more about the darkness than the actual light. I know that there was another side because of the background where I come from. Yeah, I know there was a God. I just didn't know I can be so close to Him. I can actually go to Him and tell Him how I feel. Okay.
Wow. Quite a number of hands popped up as you were speaking. Yes, Ashley. Yes, ma'am. Miss Kansas?
When I came into the group, it was just a different time in my life. Like, I had spent a while walking away from God and trying to fill that hole with romantic relationships, and a lot of people are guilty of that. And you know, when your life falls apart and you realize that you did it all the wrong way and that, you know, you should have listened to God for a reason. I came into the group because I was going through a period of trying to find my way back to walking with God just as closely as I had been before. You know, and I kind of realized that maybe I needed some deliverance because when I started walking back close to God and started praying, and I went through this moment driving to work and just thinking about just talking to Jesus like he's my friend sitting right there. And all these thoughts started hitting me like crazy people talk to air. Are you going to sit in your car and be crazy? And I realized, hey, I am the only person sitting here. Nobody's going to look at me like I am crazy. What is, oh, and then I realized how strong the devil's thoughts were to me.
Ooh.
And I had started listening to the Bible on audiobook while I was at work and started realizing, you know, things about my thoughts, like the Sermon on the Mount. You know, I would listen to it, and it's only a 15-minute audio, but I wound up having to listen to it several times because every time I listen to it, I just have these awful thoughts hit me. Painful past thoughts, angry thoughts, these thoughts, those thoughts. And I realized that, you know, the devil really doesn't want you to get close to God. So, like, and I had tried to go through deliverance before in the ministry. I don't know why they canceled on me or didn't get back to me because we had it all set up. And then, you know, I seen your testimony on YouTube and how you had a ministry and you also did deliverance. And I figured, you know what, I might get in touch with these guys. I want to go through a deliverance. But that's kind of how I found my way to the group. You know, my parents had raised me just very simple Christian faith. Like, you go to church on Sundays, you pray, you make sure you tithe, you make sure you read the Bible to your family and let them know how important Jesus is. But there was no speaking in tongues and deliverance and baptism being more than just showing that, you know, you love Jesus. It's just more of a ceremonial thing. So, yeah.
Wow.
I've learned a lot of different things.
Thank you. Yes, Miss Nora.
Right. I guess for me, I had a thought that I was not supposed to go to God, or, you know, who am I? You know, who are you to go to God and ask God for help? So I had to figure everything out on my own, but I was believing a lie all this time.
You know, one of the most intriguing parts that hits the majority of people is that they realize that there is order. And that the reason that they hadn't been able to make much heads or tails, yeah. My brain was going heads of tails. No, not heads of tails. But you can't make much heads or tails of what's going on if you are only seeing life according to what one person says versus what Holy Spirit says versus all of these. So, Ashley was saying that when she saw this one of prone to accidents, that it's just clumsiness. But it's occultism. When it says in 2 Timothy, don't remember chapter and verse, I just know it's 2 Timothy. God has not given you a spirit of fear, but of love, power, sound mind. A sound mind, besides just being even keel and very secure, will not allow occultism in. So this type of occultism is a counterfeit spirituality. It's also because of fear and insecurity. Fear and insecurity of what? What would somebody who has lots of accidents or has multiple accidents, what would they fear? What do you think?
Being good enough.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Not being good enough, yeah.
Anybody else?
Maybe they're doing something and they're afraid of being caught and they don't want people to know what they're doing.
Interesting.
I'm saying that because I have an experience that I don't want to say because I haven't talked to the person in a long time. But it came back to mind with this person, so.
Could it be fear of death as well?
Fear of, I'm sorry?
Fear of death.
Fear of death. Could be. Could be. Now remember, each time that you have a fear of something, you're automatically rejecting the love of Jesus. Fear and love of Jesus does not coexist. Just as you cannot serve fear and Jesus because it's two different masters. I have this monitoring spirit that's flying around me right now.
So what happens when you have fear as a child? Are you just walked with fear all your life because nobody cast out a spirit of fear as a child?
Fear as a child comes about because of generational occultism. I remember when I was a kid, being afraid, I was mocked by my parents for being afraid. Which I always thought was a little strange until I just got used to the fact that my parents are going to make fun of me for being afraid. When I told somebody who was an actual sold-out Christian, unlike my parents, because my parents considered themselves to be sold-out Christians, but when I told a preacher, I don't want to go out when it's dark out because I'm afraid, he didn't mock me. And that was very startling to me. He did not mock me. He said, "Does Jesus have the permission to walk with you?" My words were, "I didn't know he needed my permission." "Well, what do your parents say?" "They make fun of me." "Oh, then he doesn't have permission." That was a eye-opener to me. Asked him later, "Why does Jesus need our permission?" He showed me. Anybody know? Has anybody ever heard that God has a phone number?
No.
Jeremiah 3:33. Actually, it's 33:3. ask me, and I will tell you some remarkable secrets about what is going to happen. In the King James, it's call upon me. There's God's phone number. But the preacher asked me, how many times do your parents ask Jesus what to do? I said, many times they ask him for blessings and ask him for needs. I've never in my life, and I don't remember as an adult, hearing my parents ask God for direction until all the kids were raised, which was a little... What? They never asked God for help on how to raise the kids until after the kids were no longer there. That seems a little late. But that's God's phone number. Prone to drowning or fear of water. Deep water. Told some of you the story. My Swiss brothers' ancestry, they were trying to live peaceably with the Roman Catholic Church, and the Roman Catholic Church was telling them the only way they would allow the Swiss brethren to join them is if they got baptized, and instead of baptizing them, they drowned them by the hundreds. Yes, sir.
Are you gonna get to the fear of heights later?
There is various fears in here, but why? Why do you ask?
I have a terrible fear of heights. Pretty bad. Well,
What type of height is where the fear just kind of takes over?
Probably above the second floor of the common building. Above that, it starts getting worse.
I have been at the top of this arch.
But do you know how bad it is? Like, I'm sorry. Have you seen those videos where these daredevils, they climb buildings and stuff like that? I can't stand to watch them. I don't know how they do it, but it's like my legs turn to jello. I just can't.
I've laid at the bottom part of the arch, and I have seen this view right here. What's in the center of the page. I've also Gateway Arch view from the top. Come on, give me a view from the top.
You know what's funny? It's not the literal fear of heights, it's the fear of falling. Because if I could fly or float, I wouldn't be afraid.
Still trying to find a view. Because I know pictures are allowed. We took pictures. View
Wait.
from the top.
You can go on top of
Oh.
that?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Is this fear silly? I mean, it's not silly, but it's like I've always had fear of quicksand because of the way Medium does it.
There we go. That's the view. So there's the arch. And way up here, see if I can open it. New tab. Switch to this. And way up here, you see those holes? Those are windows. And I've been up in those.
Me too.
Yeah. It's a little interesting to get into the elevators. Because they rock back and forth. And the only reason that they rock back and forth is because you look at the orientation of the arch starting out down here. The elevators are on the side. By the time it goes up there, it is upside down. So if the elevators don't rock back and forth, very simply, you would get out of the elevator upside down. Or you literally feel the box shifting back and forth. And in order to get out up at the top and standing upright, it has to rock. Now, what's even more interesting about this particular arch is that only a certain number of people, and everybody is checked for their weight. If you want to find out how much your mother-in-law weighs and she don't want to tell you, go take her to the arch. But they weigh you because only a certain amount of weight is allowed to be inside the arch for it not to shake. The reason it would shake is because there's too much weight on the supports. Alright, so I've been up in there. It took me a little while to be able to stand next to the windows and not shake. And I heard the guide tell me something that was so absolutely incredible, because he said that the reason that people have a fear of heights is because they respect the height. So a fear of heights is not a fear of heights. The fear of heights is the fear of accidents. I have fallen out of trees, and I have fallen through barn floors.
You know, that's really true. Never thought of it that way. Because when I see these professional stunt workers, they do things. And I always say to myself, and they do it habitually, they do it for whatever, money, fame. No safety equipment. And I always say to myself, one day there's going to be an accident. Because there's no such thing as perfection. And it's just going to take that one accident. And you're done.
Yep.
I'm thinking to myself, how can these people keep tempting fate like that? It's insane. No respect. They don't respect reality, like the nature of things.
I think it's an adrenaline addiction that they have.
There is a fella that I used to watch big time. His name is Grant Thompson. He had a YouTube channel called The King of Random. And I tell you what, this guy's YouTube channel was one of the most incredible. So he built up a number of videos out, and then all of a sudden the videos just stopped. With no real understanding till we discovered this. Authorities discovered his body as after he failed to return from a flight, locating him via GPS data from his cell phone. Investigation of the crash indicated that a change in wind caused his paraglider chute to collapse. He attempted to deploy a reserve chute but did not have sufficient altitude before impacting the ground. What type of paragliding was he doing? He was doing base jumping. So one of my favorite YouTubers dies from base jumping. All that really does is give me a very healthy respect for parachutes, and only doing it with those who've done it a number of times and have earned their. So he had earned his parachute ribbon because of how many jumps he made. You have to do parachuting at least 20 times before you can start paragliding. Paragliding is where you are jumping. That's the difference between parachute and paraglide. Parachute is you jump from a plane. Paraglide is you jump from a high point on the earth to go down to a lower part. But his videos really shaped a great level of my creativity when it came to science stuff. So, but when it comes to a fear of accidents or a fear of drowning or a fear of house fires, this is a pyrotechnic gone deadly. I used to be a, what's the word? Whatever it is, the person who lights a bunch of fires. But I would set trees on fire. I'd find a hollow tree and I'd put a little fire in the middle because it was just so interesting to watch smoke.
Pyromaniac.
Thank you, pyromaniac. I always thought it was so interesting to put a little bit of whatever in a tree and watch smoke come out of the branches. Well, one particular day, I did that to a tree, and then it started to rain, and the wind really picked up, and so I thought, this will blow out, or it'll be rained out, and so I'll just go to bed. At about midnight or 12:45, I hear my dad calling me, "Did you start a fire out back?" And I said, "Yeah, I took the trash out." And he says, "Did you set a tree on fire?" I was like, maybe? I thought it was going to rain out. And so he brings me out to what he would see. So I'm standing on the driveway, and sure enough, out behind the pasture is this tree with sparks shooting like 30 feet up in the air. And so we go check it out, and the tree, from the base of the ground, about 30 feet up in the air, is still a tree. It was a dead tree because of it had started to rot on the inside, but it was nevertheless still an upright and burning tree. So, because we couldn't put it out, we couldn't get up high enough to put water down on top. But Dad's like, well, thanks for the firewood whenever this falls over. It took 2 days for that thing to slowly burn before finally it burned out enough of the base so that about 2 in the morning, boom, fell with a shower of sparks. And so my dad was able to get some of the rest of the tree that was not rotten. He later told me, thanks, because I was trying to figure out how I'm going to topple the tree and have to deal with all the rotten part. And because you set the tree on fire, it burned all the rotten part out. So, in a very singular and rare moment, I helped my dad out by setting a tree on fire. But any point where it's a prone to any of these types of accidents, it's a fear of this type of accident. Let's talk about epilepsy. Because now we're getting into the meat of issues. How many, put your hand up, how many of you have read the book from Natasha Grbich in regards to what it means to serve, or excuse me, what the cause is of things like epilepsy? You've seen it, you know what the cause is. That's me. How many else?
Read it, but I don't remember, but I have seen it. You mean actually seen someone?
I've only
Have
made
it?
it to chapter 5.
I might just shock a whole bunch of you. See if it will even open. I don't know if it will. I do not. I have the PDF, but I rather get it from the Kindle book. I will use this app until I can't use it no more. Slowly opening up. Switch. This from the Repentance book. And I will put the link for said book.
There's a digital version?
Not a legal one.
I have the book in Kindle.
There's that one. Putting that here. Also putting it in the live stream. Where is my chat box? I just saw it. There. Not that. Let's take. Come on. That and minimize it. That and 39% on the upload of the video from this morning. Where the heck did I put it? That and minimize it. That and minimize it. That and minimize it. Good night. Where the heck did I put it? Alright. Here's how we're gonna have to do it. Take the docs. Remove. Oh, there it was. Docs. Chat. Put it there. In the contents. None of that. Might actually find it in the prayers. I don't see the specifics, but it is in this book. I'm keenly aware that if I present from the book, read from the book, I'm breaking a copyright. So I'm not. That's why I'm not reading. But from that book, any place that there is eating of hearts or eating of human organs, it will result in disorders such as epilepsy. Yes, Solange.
So it is in the bloodline then. If you're like a bloodline have done this in the past, we don't know, right?
Every bloodline has.
Hmm.
This is not a question of whether they have. It's more of a question of how recently they have.
Because I know one of my colleagues. She's really young. You see and think he have that. And then I know another girl when we live in Spain, but that one they told her is because of the cows of telling in the crib when he was a baby. That affect one of her leg and the hand is like a twist.
Interesting. So the inability to have a sound mind is from eating human organs.
What purpose do they get out of that?
It's a witchcraft. It's a witchcraft ritual for the purpose of gaining strength, spiritual strength. So here's the thing. Here's the way that here's another way that Natasha taught it. If back in the day, the witches had to get a level of mental strength, and they used the future bloodline as currency. If they took from the future generations the level of strength that God would have ordained that every person is to have in their mind, and they take it from the future generations' ability to have a strong mind so that they can have a superior strong mind, that means that future generations are going to be born without a strong mind. There you go, epilepsy. It's also occultism, counterfeit spirituality. So this is not a scenario where you would gain anything to try to say, well, it's we did some genealogy searches, and we found out that all of our people was really high-ranking individuals, and they would have never done anything like that as high-ranking individuals. Here's the reality of that. Every person who comes out of high society or secret societies will tell you that the majority of their ritual meals had to do with eating human hearts or eating human organs, almost all of them being cooked or half raw, for the purpose of receiving a level of power and authority. Yes, ma'am.
I was just wondering, why is this spirit now? I know it's a spirit because I literally cannot keep my eyes open. It's like this thing wants me to fall asleep here. And I'm like, I'm fighting it. I'm like, what am I doing? But my eyes just want to shut tight.
Yep, manifestation. So, Jesus, we thank you. Oh, this is a prayer that my wife taught me. Anytime that there is some level of manifestation, the body wants to go to sleep. Jesus, we thank you for the promotion. We thank you that this is a place where you have a desire for me to learn from it and acquire the knowledge. So I thank you for the promotion. And we direct angels over to the home of Nora to swat that demon trying to make her go to sleep so she can gain all this revelation. Gone.
I didn't know that it's a manifestation. It happened to me a few times in class, and I thought, oh, you just type.
Nah.
But
He's a manifestation.
I managed to fight it and open my eyes, open my eyes and watch it and listen to class. Sure.
There was a time when I was in church. I'd had plenty of sleep. And all of a sudden, I just find myself drifting off to sleep. And I elbow my wife as I'm like this. And I said, please pray. This is a demonic attack. And so she's just got her hand on me real soft. And she's not touching my face, draw attention to anyone else. But she just begins to rebuke every trace of whatever is in my body, begins to claim my body as the temple of God, begins to call for the body to wake up, and after about 5 minutes, my body just came back to life. I was back awake. No amount of coffee, no amount of having to get up and walk around. Yeah. She took authority over the evil. And it had to go.
That happened to me once. I fell asleep literally on the floor in the middle of the living room as I was reading my Bible. And then I wake up, I'm like, wait a second. I would never sleep in the middle of the floor. Like, why am I here? But I'm happy you explained that story. It makes sense now.
When we first started to do deliverance and started to, Ashton would bring the really hardcore prayers, people would literally be sitting upright, their eyes would shut, and they lose track of time, hours at a time. And so that's when he and I start talking together, and I said, listen, I think we need to devise some sort of prayer where we go after the smaller stuff, little bit chip, 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 and just go after the smaller stuff. And by the time we go for the big hardcore prayers, the people will have enough of a grounding for how God's word works that if they find themselves starting to fall asleep, they can just pray and keep on trekking. But JP, I should have kept some of the videos. JP, when he first came in and I'd be talking about some real deep stuff, everybody like, there's somebody like, do I hear snoring? And I stopped talking, and sure enough, we hear. And so I go on my list of, James calls it spiritual tranquilizers, darts of the enemy. Yes. So I just go into my list of microphones to see which one was live, and it would be JP's, and I'm like, everybody, just hold on a bit. I gotta wake him up, and I'd have to go, JP, are you asleep? And it was just like, hey, brother. I'm like, why are you napping? He's like, oh, I don't know. And here's the craziest part. This was the way in which his body would betray him, because he'd be awake with his microphone off. But the moment he'd fall asleep, his body would turn the microphone on. So his body would betray him. It's always the funniest thing. So, between epilepsy and convulsions. Convulsions is a result of low oxygen in the brain. Now, there are certain ways in which low oxygen in the brain gets passed down generationally. Does anybody know what type of activity a person would have to go through in order to lower the level of oxygen in the brain?
An asthma attack?
I'm sorry?
For a couple of...
An asthma attack?
Smoking.
No.
I think
Ding!
dead. To be dead for a couple of
Nope.
hours.
Nope.
Minutes.
Nope.
No?
Nope. Nope. Ashley said it. Smoking. Drinking. Putting paint into a bag and inhaling.
Wait, putting paint into a bag? That's a thing?
That's a thing.
Whoa.
It's called huffing. It's called
They call it
huffing. I've done it.
Into a bag?
I'm sorry?
Those brain cells are really fast.
I said putting what into a bag?
Paint. Spraying paint into a bag and inhaling.
Oh.
Huffing is the major cause of ADHD. They won't tell you that, though. So, convulsions comes from lack of oxygen to the brain. Here's the thing. It is not because of lack of oxygen to the person. It's like, for instance, me having convulsions would be a direct result of my parents, grandparents, or great-grandparents actively pursuing activities where they repeatedly bring their brain to a low level of oxygen because of inhaling chemicals that are not healthy. So you find somebody who's either got a issue with epilepsy or convulsions, you can know without a condemnation about it, you can know that previous generations had habits where they were actively inhaling chemicals for the purpose of getting high, which actually shuts down the level of oxygen in the brain. In fact, even as it is with coffee, does anybody know why a person has why they have this reaction of energy when consuming coffee. Where does the energy actually come from?
Caffeine, your adrenaline glands.
Why does caffeine affect the adrenaline glands? What is the adrenaline glands trying to do?
They're there to help you survive in scary situations where there's something coming after you.
That's what the adrenaline glands' natural process is for. What are the adrenaline glands doing when you're consuming caffeine?
I'm not sure. I really enjoy my coffee though. I drink at least a cup a day.
Same. Listen, I'm not saying this to bring a person down for drinking coffee, because I like my coffee too. Doc told me this. In fact, if you are seriously wanting to know the name of the person, I can go find him in Mount Vernon. When you drink just a cup of coffee, and that's the only coffee you have throughout the entire day, your adrenal glands are going to be okay chasing all that coffee out of your system, and that's where you get the energy from. Not the caffeine in the blood. Caffeine in the blood is going to kill you. But drinking the caffeine and the level of energy that it puts into the blood, the reason why you get such level of energy from drinking caffeine is because your adrenal glands goes overdrive, shoving that poison out of your body. Multiple cups of coffee causes your adrenal glands to go at high levels of producing adrenaline in order to shove all that poison out. But that's also why you have a coffee crash. Because your adrenal gland can only produce so much adrenaline to put throughout your body to get rid of the caffeine, and when it runs out of adrenaline, you crash. It's called a coffee crash. Because in reality, caffeine is a type of poison. Actually. I like my coffee, so I guess I like a little bit of poison.
Actually, I did hear that a little bit, like coffee, a little bit of poison is actually beneficial for your body because it trains your body to fight these things. You know what I'm saying?
No,
Like if you live a totally...
I don't know. Here's the thing about when a person says actually. The word actually is a short form of the word factually. If it is a scientific fact, then it will be cited with multiple citations in the scientific world. If it's just a fact to try to present something and there are no scientific citations to it, then it is nothing less than an opinion. And so if an individual comes to me and says, actually, opinion. Hey, Angie.
Yes.
Could you tell me and the class why it was that I was telling Devante to avoid the phrase, you know what I mean?
Yeah, Norman, it's called hormesis. Hormesis. It's a two-phase dose-response relationship whereby low dose exposures have a beneficial effect and high dose amounts of either inhibitory or function or toxic. Hormesis. No,
Yes,
I'm not
Andrew.
trying to be sassy.
I
I'm just saying-
forgot why you. I forgot why you were saying it, but that was so funny though. But can you remind me why you was telling me not to keep saying, you know what I mean?
All right. The phrase, you know what I mean, is where the individual is trying to present something without giving the other person the opportunity to agree or disagree. The phrase, you know what I mean, implies that when I'm saying something, the other person doesn't have an option to agree or disagree and just has to go with it. When I told Devante that, he got real quiet, and I could just about hear him thinking. He says, you know, I've noticed that whenever I'm going into great detail with this, with great camera views from Ashley, I think that was a ceiling. But whenever Devante says, whenever I've been saying that phrase of you know what I mean, I've noticed that people just say yeah, and I don't actually have a conversation with them because I'm telling them what I think and they have to agree with it.
Well,
So
I think that, I have said that. There's a certain person that I've said that to several times in the past. And I had to follow it with, like, if you don't know what I mean, I can't make it any simpler, because they had this tendency to just try and frustrate me in conversations by acting like they didn't know what I was talking about.
right.
I
So
guess that's provoking, but yeah.
yeah. The other thing about the phrase, you know what I mean, it requires that an individual come to this place of only seeing things or only saying things from a place of, this is how I think, and you're going to agree with it. If I'm consistently telling a person, this is what I think, and you're going to agree with it, they have little to no ability to discern whether or not it is of God or not. So if a person tells me, you know, there's a, you know what I mean? And I'll be like, no. What does the word no give me the opportunity to do, besides slow them down? It gives me the opportunity to discern what it is they're talking about and decide whether or not I'm going to come into agreement with it or not. Because not all factual scientific facts are godly. Not all opinions are godly. So if a person is consistently presenting their thing, and you know what I mean, 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 it's one person's opinions shutting down another person's opinions. That's not a conversation. That's a lecture. So that's why I will, every so often, hey, the rest of you are here to talk. I want to hear what you got to say. Let's measure things out. Let's have discourse. Let's have communication. Yes, I'm leading it, but if you got a question and you, in your questioning, say something that the Bible doesn't agree with, I am responsible for being a teacher to either point it out to you or to say that I don't know what you mean. I'm not going to become invested on an opinion if it's not Bible based. That sort of thing. Any questions before I keep going? Take this down that way. Cool. Seizures, similar to convulsions. Oh, I missed the text there. It's not heaviness. It's deaf and dumb. Then we have this one. Having...
Seizures
Yes?
and epilepsy is not the same.
I'm sorry?
The Seizures. Seizures, you say Seizures and epilepsy. Do not-
Epilepsy and seizures
It's
are
not-
the same thing, yes.
Okay, that's what I want to know.
But there are some seizures. Now, I learned this because of the one location that I lived where the guy had an irregular heartbeat. And every time his heart got into this irregular heart rate, his body would have seizures where the heart was sending signals out through the adrenal glands to try to force the heart to get back into this place of regular. Well, he wasn't always doing the outward. He was sometimes doing the outward, as he was not always doing the inward. Sometimes he was doing the outward. And sometimes in the point of doing the outward motion, he'd either fracture his arms and legs or outright break them. And so some of his seizures was happening because of the irregular heartbeat. It's not always epilepsy as to why a person has a seizure. But this last one that we're going to talk about, I say last one because all the rest are a mess, and we're going to wait until next Monday. Yes, ma'am.
I saw the cause of that. It was because of the brain. That everything comes like the brain make a sign to the body, and I saw everything was about because of the brain, a problem in the brain.
Okay.
Most of it.
Who made the brain?
Sorry, can you ask me that question?
Who made the brain?
Okay, who made the brain? God.
Did he make it with a problem?
No, absolutely.
Right. So which type of agreement allowed the problem to come in?
It could be the bloodline, any altar that the bloodline that have been worshipping all the way back to Adam. So
if we go to Deuteronomy 28.
Yeah. It's just the why I'm asking all this question. It's just shocking when doctors say to you something and then you come and learn this actually what is the cause of everything, and it's just new and shocking for me. As the people that I work to, we are it's mandatory for us to do trainings of situation like this, how we should act and all that, and they will explain you like the cause of this and why it come like all is because of parts of the brain, blah blah blah. And then you come and now you just think everything is a lie. What they have teach you. Like it's
It's
just
very accurate what you
for the
just said.
sake she just explain something to try to make sense something. They just come up with all this term of medicine and all these things, and you just learn this thing and you think, oh my god, they don't even have a clue what they say.
Ashton was the first one to show me this particular level. He showed me how. Let me see something here. All right, I am going to take the audio that's in the background all the way off because I need people, or almost off. And actually go into here. Turn the looping off. Thank you. Fine. You're going to stop. I'll stop it. If you won't listen to the Lord your God and won't obey these laws I'm giving you today, then all of these curses shall come upon you. Now this is Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 15 through the rest of the chapter. So, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and then finally Deuteronomy. There are 3 books of supernatural stories and God's law about these stories given before Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy is mostly the dividing of all the people's lands. They've reached the promised land, and now Moses has some laws to give to the entire company of Israel, and he spends the first 27 chapters giving them law. And then there is this chapter of the first 14 verses that if you do all these things, I'm going to give you blessing, 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 blessing. It's really, really crazy that there are so many curses in comparison to the 14 verses of blessing. So I'm putting this copy paste into Cursor, and I'm going to ask Cursor to highlight all of the curses as described in no, actually this one. Yes, Ashley.
I thought Moses didn't make it to the promised land because he struck the rock. Or was this given like before they got to the promised land?
This is before they got to the promised land.
Oh.
Good question. This and according to this chapter, from verses 15 to the end of the chapter, there are many curses given. As presented in the Hebrew to English translations, exactly how many diseases are being talked about as curses. All right, as that as that spools out, I'll be watching it on my side, and once it is completely connected, I will come back to it. If you won't listen to the Lord your God and won't obey these laws I am giving you today, then all of these curses shall come upon you. Anybody who tells you that Satan is the origin of curses didn't read this. God is the origin of curses. He isn't just scattergun or howitzer or however way you want to put it. He isn't just with a machine gun of laser light. He's not sending out curses into the land just because. There are conditions that we must be inside of in order for him to drop a curse on us. And the specifics is if you won't listen and won't obey. Many people obey after being told over and 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 over. Many people listen but don't obey. And so if they're listening to it but not obeying, that's not a parameter. So God's parameter is if you won't listen and you won't obey. It's not a if you won't listen to the Lord or obey. It's two-step. So if you're not doing his two-step dance, he's going to give you 68 verses. I'm sorry, 68 minus 15. He's going to give you 48 verses of curses. Curses in the city, curses in the fields, curses on your Fred and brood. Fred and brood. Fruit and bread. The curse of barren wombs, curses upon your crops, curses upon the fertility of your cattle and flocks, curses when you come in, curses when you go out. For the Lord himself will send his personal curse upon you. You will be confused and a failure in everything you do until you at last you are destroyed because of the sin of forsaking him. Verse 20 is the summary of everything within this chapter. So the individual who has anything going on in the brain where the brain is not able to send accurate synapses out to the rest of the brain, and the brain able to send accurate synapses out to the hands and feet and mouth, and being able to have easy communication with everybody else around you, it is not because there's something wrong with the brain. It is because of the multiple generations who are under a curse as a result of trading away the knowledge of God to do things their own way. All right? So, checking all of this. All right. skip the TLB translation, go straight from Hebrew to English, and name all of the diseases per verse, and then create this as a PDF, calling it Rebellion plus Desertion equals Curses. All right. He will send disease among you until you are destroyed from the face of the land you are about to enter and possess. Yes, ma'am.
So when someone born like without oxygen, like he's, let's say he's dead for a couple of, let's say 10 minutes, and the brain doesn't have oxygen. So we saying it's a cause that comes from the bloodline.
You know, it's easy to say the words comes from the bloodline. It's easy to say those words. It's much more difficult to attempt to put the actual cause of why. Skipping from a place of saying it's from the bloodline, because even doctors will say that. They will ask you when you come into the hospital, okay, we need to know what sort of diseases have been prevalent in your family. They even use the genealogy of the diseases to try to diagnose what it is that you're in. So they use bloodline.
That's what I'm trying to understand, because I'm trying to put the puzzle, because then the doctor will come up and say, oh, this is from your blood and da 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 da. So I'm trying to understand now. This is a curse. It's not from the bloodline. Then you understand when the doctor questions you and asks you, "Oh, did your family have this? Did your family have that?" Because everything, you can find everything in the blood. So
you can. But remember what I said earlier in the week, that every disease of every type of disorder of either the blood or the bone or the brain, every disease, every cancer, every whatever disorder is found in every part of your blood cells. It just needs a trigger to be set off.
wow.
So they need to know which triggers got set off.
Okay, that makes sense. So that now I want to understand. So then we can is a curse.
There is definitely a curse.
Okay, now I don't know what to say. It's,
Dun,
oh
dun, dun,
my goodness,
dun.
the things you learn. Oh, doctors trying to make sense thing. They just don't have a clue of anything. Okay, thank you.
There are doctors who are allowed to. Sorry, I'm trying to find a specific thing here. There's doctors who are allowed to understand life according to certain things. And then there are doctors who are paid to only give you certain level of understanding according to how you understand life. They get paid to give you revelation. Not that it's godly, not that it's accurate, but they are paid. they are paid to give you information, and if you take this information for gospel, then this particular gospel is either going to assist you in helping with God's understanding, or it's going to absolutely counter what the doctor says. So, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 15 through 68, the disease and affliction terms, Hebrew to English. I am citing the Westminster Leningrad Codex of Hebrew. The English glosses follow standard literal translations. Using from the King James Version, I'm not quite sure what the JPS version is, but that's the first time I've ever seen it as a version. The New American Standard Bible and the English Standard English Standard Version Living Bible is not used. Every verse from 15 to 68, where a verse names a disease or bodily mental affliction, it is marked with Hebrew, Strong's number, and English. Verses with no disease are marked as a dash. Only where this chapter names Egypt, verses 27 and 60, no Exodus plague is imported unless stated here. So, verse 15, curses shall overtake you, no disease named. Verse 16, cursed in the city and field, cursed in the basket and breading trough, cursed in the fruit of body, land, and cattle, cursed coming in, cursed going out, curse, confusion, rebuke, not disease terms. Verse 21, pestilence and plague will cleave to you. I'm trying to get this to let me resize and do that so it's a little easier to see. Oh, come on. Verse 21, pestilence and plague. It's an epidemic disease. Verse 21 is the epidemic disease. So if you see a pandemic, there are some pandemics that are man-made, and then there are some pandemics that are made because God put it in place. But this is a pestilence or plague that follows fruit of body, land, or cattle. So if it's a particular plague that goes across the land and it affects the animals, you can probably bet that it's a plague. Verse 22, a consumption or wasting disease. So there are 4 bodily afflictions. It also lists the sword, the crop blasting, the mildew, not necessarily human diseases. So there is consumption or wasting disease, there's fever, there's inflammation or inflammatory disease. So in verse 22, you have the consumption or wasting disease, you have fever, you have inflammation or inflammatory disease, you have extreme burning and fiery heat. What sort of diseases do we know about that have extreme burning or fiery heat? For part 2 of this document, please list the possible diseases, disorders, or cancers that match the description of the Hebrew words. Part 2 of this document in a separate document. Yes, ma'am.
Um, I'm just surprised right now. It's because of my let's say ignorance that I thought. I don't know how to explain. And so God's still working just the way he's have said things. Nothing have changed in his word. He have put the curse down there for us to be aware. Okay, if you follow this path, this is what you're gonna get. So
Mhm.
is it me only why don't the only one that didn't know that, or just because our ignorance of the Bible, we think that that part is only for the people of Israel. I'm just kind of trying to ponder on this and understand that okay, God didn't put this only for Israel; He put for the whole world to understand. Okay, this is what's gonna happen if you don't follow what I say. There is curses, there is desires, everything, and we think that it's just a sickness or anything like that. I'm just right now pounding in these verses right now. You see them there and you think it's only speaking for the people of Israel, that all these verses and curses is not anymore. It's back on time when he was talking to Israel, and it's actually for the whole world and the generation that comes after and us and everything. This curse
Mhm.
is still alive.
Mhm.
Oh my
Mhm.
gosh.
So again, this is just from verse 22. There's 48 verses coming.
Oh
Yikes!
my.
23, bronze heavens, iron earth. 24, dust for rain. This is dust bowls, dust storms. This is scenarios where you see a cloud coming across and you think it's rain. It's actually a whole bunch of dirt just flying along. Sandstorms, etc. Verse 25, defeat before enemies. Verse 26, corpses, food for bird and beast. This is what happens when you don't have enough food to eat and you die and your body is eaten by birds and beasts. Verse 27, the boils of Egypt. All of these are incurable. The boils of Egypt, the tumors, the swellings, the hemorrhoids or tumors, skin eruption, the itch, the dry eruption.
Wait, dry skin and hemorrhoids is a curse.
Is a curse for walking away from God's standard. Yes.
Oh my god.
So the lotion industry is full of a bunch of people that are cursed for walking away.
Hmm.
I thought lotions were a good
Oh.
thing.
Hmm.
These make you see things differently now.
Hmm.
So if
Wow.
your hemorrhoid heals or you don't need a lot of lotion, does that mean that you're walking the right way? Or I don't. I'm having trouble swallowing this one.
This is not about swallowing. This is about recognition. This is a result.
This is revelation here, right?
This is a
Oh.
result of.
Oh wow.
So check this out.
Wow.
Possible modern diseases, disorders. I'm saying possible, not saying absolute. possible modern diseases, disorders, and cancers matching the Hebrew descriptions. I got the English disease map. That's part 1. We are using Strong's and lexicon glosses, biblical context, and ancient Near Eastern medicine plus modern clinical parallels. Listed items are possibilities, not confirmed ancient diagnoses. This is not medical advice. Cancer appears where wasting masses or chronic non-healing lesions reasonably match the Hebrew description. So, verse 28. Yes.
Can we say that then cancer could be a legion? Because there's a lot of kind of I don't know how to call it, because it bursts in your body.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay.
Ways to make your head go, what? I'm going to actually reshape this one since the document is not as wide. So verse 21, just to remind you what verse 21 had to do with. How do I do this? Let me switch that a tad bit, not quite as wide. There we go. Verse 21, pestilence, plague, or epidemic disease. That looks like bubonic plague, cholera, typhoid or typhus, smallpox, influenza, measles, dysentery, or any high mortality epidemic where disease cleaves. I guess it is a bit wider. To a population. Livestock pestilence, Exodus chapter 9 verse 3, parallels anthrax or rinderpest in other texts. Yes, ma'am.
I used to listen to Living Saviors Ministry. This is probably like 10 years ago. I would listen to them for about a whole year. The one who was speaking was Dermot Scrivener. I don't know if you heard of him, but he was into the healing ministry, and he said that the Lord revealed to him why women have breast cancer. And the number one reason was a woman has unforgiveness towards another woman. And then the Lord revealed to him the breast. If it's the left side, you have unforgiveness to a blood-related and family member, so your mother, your aunt, your grandmother. But if it's the right side, it's somebody you know somehow that you are walking in unforgiveness.
That bears witness with my spirit.
I actually have a friend that I asked because she did have breast cancer, and she did admit that yes, she had unforgiveness towards another female.
Verse 22, just to remind you, verse 22 is the consumption or wasting disease, fever, inflammatory disease, and an extreme burning or fiery heat. That looks like tuberculosis, cancer, cachexia of the lung, the stomach, the pancreatic, or the lymphoma, HIV or AIDS, severe chronic heart failure, end-stage COPD, emphysema with weight loss, chronic parasitic load as a hookworm or schistosomyiasis with malnutrition, and severe malnutrition with a marasmus. Ancient authors could not distinguish tuberculosis with other wasting diseases. The term is a syndrome, progressive emaciation, weakness, often with fever, rather than with one modern ICD, International Control of Disease code. Still from verse 22, fever or burning ache describes malaria, typhoid, influenza, sepsis, brucellosis, leptospirosis, any sustained febrile illness paired with the wasting. So this is a level of diseases that's listed in the Bible a whole 4,000 years before Jesus shows up. Still from verse 28, inflammation or inflammatory disease is cellulitis and erysipelas, sepsis with systemic inflammation, rheumatic fever, severe respiratory infection such as pneumonia, inflammatory bowel disease with a severe flare, autoimmune vasculitis, and osteomyelitis. And whenever it's osteo, it's in the bones or the joints. Fits hot red, swollen, infectious, or autoimmune processes. Still, verse 22. Hyperpyrexia, very high fever. Heat stroke, heat exhaustion, such as a desert climate. Severe dehydration with elevated body temperature. Burning, dysuria from urinary tract infection. Intense inflammatory skin eruption with burning pain. Some translations render as drought rather than bodily disease. It sits among bodily afflictions, so fever, heat syndromes fit the best. Now verse 27, so we'll switch over to the other one till we get to verse 27. Got the bronze heavens, iron earth, dust for rain. Defeat before enemies, corpses for foods. Corpses become food for birds and beasts. And then we come to verse 27 with the diseases of Egypt, which are, by the way, incurable. Those diseases look like furuncles and carbuncles, cutaneous anthrax, smallpox pustules, impetigo or eczema, plague buboes, cutaneous, I have no idea how to say that word, but chronic ulcers, chronic non-healing skin ulcers, could include skin cancer. In modern terms, although ancients would not classify as cancer. Recall Exodus 9 verses 9 through 11, festering boils on humans and animals, incurable. Remember the level of plagues that God brought to Egypt as a result of Egypt not letting his people go. Still verse 27, hemorrhoids, anal or perianal abscess, inguinal or axillary lymph node enlargement. The buboes plague, again, swollen lymph nodes, rectal prolapse with swelling. I've had that. That is horrible. Colorectal cancer or anal cancer, pelvic tumors, prostate enlargement or prostate cancer if generalized to groin swelling. Same root for Philistine tumors in 1 Samuel 5 and 6 with rats. Talk about rats starting a disease. Hemorrhoids, thrombosed external hemorrhoid, anal fissure with swelling, perianal hematoma, rectal prolapse, dysentery, related rectal inflammation, anal cancer or rectal adenocarcinoma. Often merged with that word in English Bibles, medical texts link dysentery complications to ancient armies and sieges. Still, verse 27, eczema, atopic dermatitis, I think the P is silent, psoriasis, tinea corpus, ringworm, crusted scabs, secondary crusting of scabies, that word, dermatitis, and that word, rosacea. It's not modern nutritional scurvy. Scurvy is when you don't have enough vitamin C. These are the types of curses that God is going to bring to you if you don't keep His word. Scabies, chronic eczema, contact dermatitis, severe dry skin in arid climate, dry crusted lesions, body lice. Then finally we get to verse 35. So since we're not yet to 35, I'll come back to here. 28. Madness. People going insane. Blindness, confusion or bewilderment of heart. That is this. You ever know autism is mentioned in the Bible as a curse? Yeah.
What's the cause of it? Disobedience, disobedience to God's word, or
Rejecting God's authority. Verse 29, groping like the blind, repeats blindness metaphor, no new disease term. The wife, the house, and the vineyard taken, the ox, the donkey, and sheep lost, the children are taken captive. This right here is child trafficking. Oppression, crops eaten by foreigners. This describes where all your food is shipped away to other people and you never get to eat the crop of your own labor. Verse 34, driven mad from grief at what the eyes see. Verse 35, severe boils from sole of foot to the crown of the head. It's incurable. Verse 36, exile to serve other gods. Horror of a pry word. Your people become a slang for disease. The insects eat your crops. The worms eat your crops. The olives never reach maturity. This again is child trafficking. The locust eats everything that you put forth. Foreigner rises, you sink. The lending is reversed. You become the head instead of the you become the tail instead of the head. The curses pursue you until you are destroyed. You become a sign and wonder on you and your children because you did not serve God with joy. Coming back to the other document. Verse 35 is disseminated furunculosis or carbunculosis, generalized impetigo or eczema, exfoliation, skin failure, bullous, pemphigoid, disseminated cutaneous infection on autoimmune, in immunocompromised state. Metastatic skin involvement from internal malignancy is a rare correlate. Same as the Egyptian boils, but emphasized as it's the entire body, not just on the torso. Verse 28, psychiatric and neurological. Is schizophrenia or schizophreniform, bipolar 1 disorder, brief psychotic disorder, delirium, whether it be infectious, metabolic, or post-siege, severe PTSD with disassociation, neurosyphilis, cataracts, glaucoma, trachoma, which is the leading ancient cause of blindness in the Near East, river blindness. It says when you spend so much time in the river water that the parasites in the water go to your brain, to the stem of your eyes in the brain, and eat it, causing you to go blind from being in the river. Corneal scarring from infection or trauma, optic atrophy, vitamin A deficiency, diabetic parallel to failing eyes, delirium, dementia, severe anxiety with cognitive impairment, post-traumatic stress with concentration failure, metabolic, that word, dehydration, infection in siege, acute stress disorder, PTSD from either combat, siege, or atrocity witness, grief reaction with transient psychosis, adjustment disorder with mixed disturbance of emotion and conduct. Triggered by the sight of what your eyes see, there's a trauma-induced mental break rather than chronic psychosis alone. Your phone is making noise. One moment, Joe. Back over here. Curses pursue you until you're destroyed. You become a sign and wonder on you and your children. You got hunger, thirst, nakedness, want of deprivation, not disease. You become someone that nobody else wants to know about. Fierce nations descend on you without any mercy. The enemy eats your animals and everything that you make. There is the siege of cities. This is happening to Iran right now. Because you don't have food, you're going to eat your own children. Tender man becomes not tender. Delicate woman eats her children. You have a failure to keep the law. Verse 59, great plagues, strokes, sore sicknesses that lasts for a long time. Back over here to this document. Any severe prolonged epidemic or chronic disease not otherwise specified, multi-organ failure syndromes. By the way, anybody know or have an idea as to what promotes multi-organ failure syndromes? It's been used multiple different wars. Currently is a problem in parts of Russia.
Is it
Chemical
cannibalism?
weapons.
I'm sorry?
Go on, Caesar.
I was gonna say chemical weapons.
Yes. Chemical weapons, uranium, and getting close to uranium, or Chernobyl. Now, here's where it gets kind of interesting. I recently saw this study where when Chernobyl happened, many people died and it just became a dead zone. But there are some people who continued to live in the explosion zone or the radiated zone because they had nowhere else to live, and their bodies began to, as Caesar pointed out earlier, their bodies began to form a level of immunity to the radiation. So now they are living in the radiation zone. They get drop-offs from care packages, but for the most part, they're living off the land that has a superior level of radiation in the area, but every entity, including great big animals like bisons, exist in Chernobyl with a higher level radiation and look normal in a dead zone.
Is it because they have been kept by God?
I don't know.
Because if that's not normal, it has to be maybe God have kept them because they have kept God's word.
I'm not sure.
Why, the question is why the other one have died and these people are still surviving in a zone that is highly radioactive.
You would have to ask God.
It's just
Because I don't know. Hereditary degenerative conditions, recurrent malaria, such TB or dysentery over generations. Oh, there's verse 60, so we won't get to that just yet. Verse 60, all the diseases of Egypt, collective curse, it will cleave to you. It's not something that's going to leave you. So, I have no idea what that is. Malaria, guinea worm, trachoma, and eye infections, parasitic intestinal diseases such as roundworm, hookworm, tapeworm, fungal and bacteria skin diseases, boils, anthrax or glanders, pestilence among livestock and humans, any condition Israel dreaded from Egyptian experiences. Chapter does not itemize Exodus plagues here, only the collective diseases of Egypt. Do not read in frogs, lice, darkness, unless another verse names them. Verse 61, every sickness, every plague or stroke, every sickness and plague not written in this book. There is going to be few left, disobedience is going to be high, and the Lord, this is the one that most people miss, the Lord rejoices to destroy the people that does not serve him. I've heard Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 63 be used as the justification for why God is happy that people are burning in hell. Not to say that it's true, but I've heard it used. back over to the other. Verse 61, open-ended. Any infectious, chronic, genetic, or malignant disease known or unknown to the author. Includes modern categories absent from the ancient world: autoimmune disease, many cancers, genetic syndromes, or novel viruses. Back to this one. Verse 65, a trembling heart, body and soul wasting. The failing or the wasting of eyes, the despair, the languishing of the soul. Verse 66, life hangs in doubt, fear the night and day. I'm going to show you this passage, verse 66, because it is absolutely horrifying description. Verse 66. Your lives will hang in doubt. You will live night and day in fear, and will have no reason to believe that you will see the morning light. In the morning you will say, oh, that night we're here. And in the evening you will say, oh, that morning we're here. You say this because of the awesome horrors surrounding you. That's it. Whoa. Coming back to the other document. Generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder, PTSD from a hypervigilance or being startled all the time, palpitations from arrhythmia. This is irregular heart patterns. Hyperthyroidism, faux chromocytoma, episodic terror or tachycardia, cataracts, age-related macular degeneration, glaucoma, trachoma, chronic eye strain from grief or functional visual decline, optic nerve atrophy, major depressive disorder, persistent depressive disorder, complicated grief or prolonged grief disorder, adjustment disorder with depressed mood, existential despair in exiles, culturally framed as soul wasting. Back to this one before we get to the summary table. There are 17 distinct terms. There are 16 distinct terms if two are treated as one. With the physical or the bodily, there's pestilence, consumption, fever, inflammation, burning heat, boils, tumors, hemorrhoids, scab, itch, severe boils of the full body, and failing eyes. Of the mental and sensory, there is madness, blindness, confusion of heart, maddened, trembling heart, despair of soul. There's great plagues and sicknesses, all the diseases of Egypt, and every sickness and plague not in this book. Deuteronomy chapter 28 opens the curse section with disobedience to the Lord's voice and commandments. The diseases listed above are covenant sanctions for that rebellion and forsaking of God. Checking, see, is there more? No. Over to this one. Epidemics, wasting, tuberculosis, cachexia, fevers, inflammation, infection, hypothermia, burning fever, boils, ulcers, pustules, or skin cancer, hemorrhoids, abscess, buboes, that's colorectal, anal, or lymphoma, dermatitis, scabies, tinea, psychosis, PTSD, delirium, blindness, eye failure, dementia, depression, Egypt epidemic, parasites, eye and skin diseases. And that's it. So, when we are talking about the level of diseases and disorders that are on the earth today, they don't exist apart from rebellion against God. So all of these problems that we see in the earth today, all of the cancers, all of the leukemias, all of the mental disorders, etc., is from rebellion against God. Every single one of them. It is God keeping his word that if you stray from me, I will come in. And I will come after you. I got a moderating spirit sitting on my glass right now. Do this. There we go. Any questions? I know we covered a bunch today.
So, I've been looking a lot into like meditating on the Bible lately, and I'm not quite sure what scriptures to start with. Is that just like a time where you pray and you open your Bible and just go, or should you try and look up scriptures and develop like a lesson plan for yourself, or?
Since I know you're speaking from the perspective of being a teacher, everybody, Ashley went through the spiritual gifts test and she discovered she's a teacher. It's going to vary per person, but if you are specifically looking for lesson plans and ways to meditate, I've discovered that as a teacher, it is very difficult for me to read the Bible and not have multiple scenarios where lesson plans just flood in and I'm just so full of all the things I could teach on one verse, especially when I connect it to a bunch of other verses. Yeah, I run into the problem of when I read the Bible, I find myself trying to teach what I see instead of just letting it sink in. It's so difficult for me to read the Bible and just let it sink. I want to immediately teach on what I see. So what I've had to do is, for example, pulling something up here. I don't know why that's still there, because it's not sharing anymore. Oh, now it's not sharing. That's wild. I'll go to YouTube and I will look for, I'm pulling it up and then I'll show the screen. Let's see here. I don't agree with everything that the guy says, but he is an absolutely amazing teacher. So I'll go to, say, Chuck Smith's channel. There's Pastor Chuck there. There's also Child of the Lord teachings, Pray Without Ceasing playlists, My Jesus Sermons playlist. You know, there's a whole bunch of individuals who have videos and playlists. Another person that I really like to go after is Chuck Missler. And I'll just take one of his commentary series and just let it play while I'm doing something else. I really like to just take a book, let it play in the background while I'm playing a game. And that's how I take stuff in. I let somebody else explain it to me, and then I'll be thinking about it, meditating on it, go to sleep. Thank you, Jesus, for that teaching. Now reveal it to me in dreams. Another fellow that I really like to listen to, I don't know if he's on YouTube, I hope he is Chip Ingram. I grew up on this guy. Oh my goodness, he is so much fun to listen to. I've often said that he kind of looks like a toned down James Robinson. But Chip Ingram is an absolute great guy to listen to. I grew up listening to Chuck Swindoll. Loved that guy. Insight for Living is one of the most incredible ministries that I've ever had the enjoyment of listening to. There is the teaching of Alistair McBegg, excuse me. Alistair Begg, excuse me. This guy is actually in Cleveland, Ohio. I was very, very disappointed that I lived in Cleveland for 3 years and I never got to go to his church. Absolutely incredible guy to listen to teaching. Another guy that I really benefited from a lot was trying to get this to highlight. Come on. Give me just a... There we go. Charles Stanley. Stanley Sr., not Stanley Jr. Stanley Jr. is gay. But Charles Stanley is incredible to listen to. By far, my favorite is Dan Mohler. Not just because I've seen him twice, but this guy absolutely presents how to live what God tells you to live, and he will present it. Here's where it gets kind of interesting. He presents how to live for God without bloodline repentance. And he does it so effectively that this is one of the few guys that I will absolutely advocate. If you do exactly what Dan Mohler tells you to do, you do not have to do bloodline repentance. You don't. But his is harder than bloodline repentance. Bloodline repentance has a recipe, and I like to have a recipe. I like to, it will be this, to this, the dedication to this is going to produce this. I love that. He has a similar. But his dedication is being so in the Word that the enemy has no chance of getting in. There's that too. Even though the fella has a fairly high level of critics on the YouTube, there's also Todd White. So I'll make a list. I'll put it into the Telegram channel or the Telegram group, and y'all will be able to pick a few. And of course, Lionheart Church. You be able to go through, pick a fella. Lionheart Church has many playlists. We're currently going through the School of Eternity series, but there's spiritual growth class. There's trying to find one
That's
that
the one
has
I'm
all of them in it.
Mm.
The Lionheart Church Services series has 190. That's not all of their videos, though. I know for a fact that they have many, many videos that are not in playlists, nor are they visible. So, I have in my playlists, I have something that they do not make visible in a playlist. And that playlist is I got the Principality Shaking Prayers, 25 videos. And I've got Lionheart Sex Stuff, 12 videos. So I have two videos, or two playlists from this Principality Shaking Prayers is unlisted, but the Lionheart Sex and Stuff is public. So if you want the Principality Shaking Prayers, I can give you the video links. I can't promise that all of the videos are public. I don't necessarily give these out because, just checking the whole list. I think they are all public. But when I went through this series, I learned so much from this one series, so that everything got reset in my brain. So, any questions? Might actually let you go early from class.
I just wanted to ask if you sent out that zodiac prayer.
Oh,
I think you were doing Solange and myself.
Solange, have you finished all the prayers of the Spirit Spouse prayer?
Not yet.
Not yet.
You told me
Alright.
when I finish, you know, with this little one here, when they're back to school is when I have so much free time to do what I have to do. So I'm currently still in the third video, but I have to go back to the second one. After all what happened, the event, I have to watch it again.
Alright. This one. And this one. Sending to Nora. Alright, you got those two. Work on over the weekend. I don't know how long it's going to take you. I recommend you go for your birth month first. You pray through until you don't have any reactions before you go to the conception month.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I'm gonna ask one question. you know, the curses, and God curse you. And let's say you become a believer. Is the curse still going if you don't repent?
Yes.
So that's why I didn't ask. I imagine that I have to go through repentance before any curse to be undone. Well, I wanted to be sure about it. That's why.
I remember gave my heart to Jesus, and I thought he's going to heal my eyes. He still got glasses. So one day when I was in heaven, I asked him, "Why don't you give me better vision?" His answer was very humbling and kind of humiliating. He said, "Well, what do you currently use your eyes for?" I said, "Things that are pleasing to me." He says, "Okay. How many of those things that are pleasing to you are also pleasing to me?" I said, He said, "That's why I don't give you better eyes. So you don't use your perfect vision to go F up your destiny." Okay. There was a time that I asked him to give me a sense of smell. And for about 10 days, I had a sense of smell. I found out firsthand why it was so difficult for my sisters and parents to drive past a food exit because they'd smell all the food in the my youngest sister has such good sense of smell that not only can she smell all the food that's coming out of an exit, she can smell the ingredients. So she knows what the ingredients smell like, and she knows how to put it all together based on the smell of the ingredients. Her desserts are always incredible. And I'm surprised that her husband ain't Humpty Dumpty. Let's see. Checking my. What all did I recommend? Oh, yeah.
You know, I kind of wondered, like, when it comes to healing ministries, why glasses were still so common. You know, you answered some questions for me there, Norm. Like, I guess sometimes, you know, God has it there for a reason. But, okay.
Mm-hmm.
If like when people go to deliverance, sometimes if they even realize that they carrying a curse,
Most
then
they hear deliverance and they think, "Oh, I want to see what that's like."
that's what I'm thinking, because sometimes the disappointment of a lot of people is because they don't realize that they have a curse, and they just say, "Oh, it's a false thing," and you don't realize you're carrying a curse on yourself. Hmm.
Anybody else? I am making a link for all of the searches that I did on YouTube to show you the various people that I've listened to. I remember there was a fella who he had a voice. He had his voice stopped working. Doctors couldn't figure out why it was no longer working. And so he continued to teach, despite the fact that he did not have didn't have voice. And the Sunday that he was teaching on how God is the healer, regardless of what it looks like, as he's going through teaching about how God is the healer of everything, God restores his voice in the middle of the sermon. And you can hear it. And so this idea that we are not well because of curses, that's definitely a thing. But also the idea that some way, somehow, we have to beg and beg and beg and pray and pray and pray and pray. And God, some way, somehow, you're going to answer my prayers. Sometimes, as Pastor Otha said in the morning broadcast, sometimes the things that we are struggling to see, struggling to understand, God is not explaining it, and he gives us the necessity of going through a level of desert before we reach the answer. Yes, ma'am. I heard your mic come off mute. Yes, I heard you. Pretty sure it was Solange. Now she don't want to talk.
My micro, it was off all the time.
Oh, gotcha.
It may come up off. I don't know. The last time it just come up off.
Interesting. I am dropping the 2 PDFs that I created today, dropping them into the resources channel. This one and this one. Oh. All right. If you ain't got nothing else, I bid you a happy weekend. Ain't got nothing else on my plate till next Monday. I still gotta put this into the R&R playlist, put the correct thumbnail on. And
next week,
yes,
I will be in the class, but on the weekend, we're going to camp with the whole church and all the 10 church around Europe.
Ooh.
We're gonna go to camp in Bath, close to London. I will try to get in the classes anyway. By just be quiet and listen. I don't want to miss the class.
That's when you people say, "What are you listening to?" Oh, you gotta be at this class. Be in camp and be in this class.
So just next week I will be getting ready, and we're going on Saturday early in the morning because it's 4 hours driving. So I'm gonna take all the kids.
It's because
myself. I will try to do. I'm not gonna lose any class. I'm gonna take my headphone actually, unless they wanna be fellowshipping and talking and praying. But I will use my daughter's headphone, the little one. I can be present, even if I cannot talk. I just don't want to miss any any day.
Whatever you miss, you can always go to YouTube.
But I like to listen and commenting at the same time. So it's not the same
There
when
is that.
you listen. When you
This is
listen and just listen and
this
ask
is
your
true.
question in that moment.
This is true. Something else I was going to say. Oh, Nora, thank you for your gift. Very much appreciated. Very much a shock to my wife. And I told her how you in your tithing and offerings, it's having an effect on your husband. And she said, well, I pray that she continues to give in obedience and her husband's heart is going to be reshaped and remade. So I agree with her in that. All right, y'all. Actually letting you go before 4. Wait. I just thought of something. I will let the live stream go, but y'all in the Google Meet stay sitting because I got something else to show you. All right. Do one of these numbers. Oops, not that. Where is my sources? Oh, perfect. Perfect timing. Sit still, you two. I got something to share for the group. I'm exiting out of the live stream. Going to actually do that. And stop streaming.